the regulation is not strict enough on how we market foods and what we say is healthy and what we say is not healthy.
It's just crazy just to kind of see the different regulations and things like that from countries.
If you don't invest now, down the road, the chances are heart disease, diabetes, neuropathy to where you can't feel your feet, amputations, you can't work anymore, you can't see anymore.
With a little health and a little wealth and a lot of love, that's the life that we live. Suits and scrubs.
Hello, everybody! Welcome to another episode of Suits and Scrubs. We talk about a little bit of health.
A little bit of wealth.
And a lot of love. All right, joined here is my co-host, who also is my wife, is a hormone, gut, and weight loss doctor. By listening to her, you can heal yourself from the inside out.
And I am joined by my very handsome co-host. He is our Coast Fire enthusiast. He can help you retire before age 40.
Well, fun fact about Emily, she is dressed like a milkmaid. Her words. I think she looked great, but she's dressed like a milkmaid.
And fun fact about Zach, he still drives my old 2007 Nissan Sentra and has to drive with the window rolled down because the motor is now broken.
Actually, I fixed that.
Did you fix it?
Yes, I did. So I took pliers and you have to like pull it up. And so note to self, like the window doesn't go all the way down, but you know what? It beats a damn car payment any day. We talk about health and wealth.
True to your brand. That's for sure.
Definitely to my brand. All right. All right, so we're talking about today's episode, but before we jump into that, we want to dive into our 30-day challenge. Last time we did a drop, and Emily gets to manage our budget for the next 30 days. I think she has a newfound appreciation for me. You want to talk about the things that you're seeing?
I think it just shows how many unforeseen expenses can pop up. We have a poor little 20-year-old cat who has a lot of ailments. And
a lot of ailments.
She has hyperthyroidism, so we have to give her medicine. And just trying to get her, finding a food that she will eat. And there's a certain, just specific type of food that costs more money. And so you have to add that all into the budget.
That's right. That's right. That was a shocker. I think we spent like $20. Like the thing is, we have $300 a week per grocery bill now. That's kind of our target.
Yes, this man eats a lot of groceries.
Yes, I eat probably like $100 in eggs a week.
Yeah, I know. You eat a lot of protein.
Scale's going down though. I'm still going
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. If we can focus on the grocery bill and stay away from the DoorDash and eating out.
Yeah.
Which, spoiler alert, we'll talk about that more on today's episode.
What a great segue. Are you a pro?
Segue.
I'm just kidding. Oh, this is so funny. Honestly, that was a great segue. All right, so let's jump into the topic of today's episode. So eat clean for less. So guys, we dropped a whole episode on food inflation. So this is the other side of the coin where we're just focusing more on the health side of things. We talk about health and wealth. This is a great subject for us. Are you feeling overwhelmed? I know I'm feeling overwhelmed. Just the rising cost of food. I know sometimes it seems easier going to the drive-thru, ordering off the dollar menu. And so what we're going to do is break that down a little bit for you guys today and how you can eat clean for less. And then Emily has a surprise bonus at the end.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay, so guys, for the first segment, we have refactions. I'm going to get it up and play it. Refactions.
It's a brand new season for everybody's favorite supermarket sweep. Are you ready? Set, go! Run wild with the chance to win $5,000. Grab everything you can get your hands on. There's great fun, super giveaways, and fantastic prizes on the Zany Show, where time is money and smart shopping makes all the difference. Don't miss the all-new Supermarket Sweep.
Well, the thing is, I bet you this show is not in, I don't think this show isn't live now because, gosh, we probably can't afford it anymore with all the rising costs.
I think that they're trying to reboot it a little bit, but I watched this.
I watched the hell out of that. I don't think I've ever seen, I know. Put something in the comments if you didn't know, if you know about it, but
there's nothing like an old 90s montage to make you smile, to make you laugh. But I think have you ever been that excited going grocery shopping?
I don't grocery shop.
I do the grocery shopping. She
does the grocery shopping. Before
I've never been that excited grocery shopping.
No, but if it was free.
If it was for free,
all free.
Maybe I would be. But my point of putting that as our
Go ahead.
was I honestly was trying to look into different information on like the 90s versus today and cost of food prices, grocery prices. And I was honestly watching some of those old supermarket sweep episodes to see what the cost, because they have to guess what the cost of certain items are on the show. And it's usually, from what I've seen, it's usually more of the processed foods like your Pringles. And I'm sure that and I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure that they have like different brands that sponsor their show so that they can put their food on there,
for sure.
Which is a whole nother episode.
Let us know in the comments if you know if they're.
And honestly, I think there is a reboot. I think they're doing a supermarket sweep, which I'm sure the prices are much different now than they used to be. But I was noticing they were talking about the price of a can of Pringles. And the can of Pringles was not that far off to what a can of Pringles is now. And so I think there are certainly some of the processed foods that have followed that price of inflation. But I think we're probably looking more at the produce and the meat that you're getting, the dairy that you're getting, the nutritious items that are
nutritious, healthy foods
that are more expensive.
Yeah, and I remember in our episode of food inflation, like ultra processed foods actually still remain to be, cheaper because there's so much. It's productionized and it's cheaper, and then underneath the hood of everything, it's the raw materials that's what's really. If you look at the food index and things like that, I do break that down in that episode. I think it helps. So if you haven't seen that, check that out because that's probably more on the well side. And I think these will make more sense together.
Yeah, and I think we definitely, when we did your food inflation episode, you talk about more definitely the finance behind it and the trends. And I think sometimes that can feel almost like a doomsday. It wasn't necessarily a doomsday episode, but I would say we have to play the hands that we were dealt. And so how do we take that information, knowing that our economy right now absolutely sucks? Like, how do we take that information and how do we still eat healthy?
Right. How do we still eat healthy? Yeah. And so by the end of this episode, I think you guys have a better understanding of what that looks like. But let's dive deeper and do our next segment, Under the Microscope.
Under the microscope. I'm just going to tell you basically what the CDC says. I didn't memorize this, so.
Yeah, and guys, before she jumps in, I will say this. We always do about 4 to 6 hours. I think our record is 20 hours of research using our expertise. Emily's been doing this for 10, 15 years. I've been in the financial services industry for 20 years. So I think we have a leg up on the average person in these industries. So yeah, let's. So Emily's going to read off the screen. So if you are watching on YouTube, just bear with us.
So this is on the CDC website. So they say eating a healthy diet is difficult without access to nutritious food. Duh. Each year, chronic diseases account for 70% of all deaths in the United States. Poor diets lead to chronic illnesses such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. Foods obtained at work are generally high in calories, sodium, solid fat, added sugars, and refined grains. American diets are generally poor in nutritional quality and do not align with the dietary guidelines for Americans. Low-income and minority communities often lack convenient places that offer affordable, healthier foods. When healthy foods are not available, people may settle for foods that are higher in calories and lower in nutritional value.
Yeah, like what's the CEO from Kellogg's? Eat cereal, guys. What are you doing? Eat cereal.
So CDC said it. We all know it. But let's figure out how to fix it.
Eat cereal. Let's just pause. What do you think about the CEO, who is probably a millionaire many times over? And yes, he's seen the average costs. He's seeing people more consuming his cereal, right?
Yeah.
So what do you say to someone like that? Eat cereal.
I think, and that's what kind of cereal are you eating? And that's I think part of the problem is there's no regulation really. There is regulation, but the regulation is not strict enough on how we market foods and what we say is healthy and what we say is not healthy. Because there are certain types of cereal, if you're eating certain types of oatmeal or certain types of granola, whole grains, that potentially can be a part of a healthy diet. But this cereal that we see on the typical aisles at a grocery store have a bunch of added sugar, have a bunch of high fructose corn syrup, have a bunch of added chemicals and ingredients that certainly does not make it a part of your balanced, healthy breakfast.
No, it doesn't. And it's funny because we actually have, we have to be practitioners on the show. We don't just talk about it. We're not just academics. We don't just do research. We actually do live this kind of stuff. So in our circle, we actually have someone from a different country. And she came over here and she ate the same diet she did over there. And her skin was breaking out. She was gaining weight and all these other things were taking place. And all things were constant, right? In fact, she even said that she was more active over here. It's just crazy just to kind of see the different regulations and things like that from countries, and then what our country is like versus other countries out there. It just makes you really raise the eyebrow a little bit.
I mean, I think I've seen that time and time again.
You have too, that's right.
Before even working in weight management, whenever I was working in primary care and I was seeing patients who were coming from all different areas in Europe, overseas, and saying, I go to the grocery store, I shop, and I feel like I'm eating the same exact diet that I was eating over there. And I've gained 20 pounds in the last few months since moving here. And whether that's strictly from the groceries or if they just aren't realizing the foods that they're eating at restaurants. I mean, there's something going on in the U.S. that's making people gain weight.
Right. And if you guys are interested in hearing more about that, maybe we actually do have a topic about that, an idea. Because I remember you were having a debate with one of your fellow doctors who's actually in Canada, where Canada's regulations is different from the U.S. So maybe we can dive deep into that in the future if people are interested. So let us know. Okay, so let's jump into the meat of the episode. So what is clean eating to you, and what can people do about as food costs rise? Like, what can people do about these certain types of things?
Yeah, so eating clean, I know that can have a different meaning to everyone, but I think making whole foods the staple of your diet is the most important. So making sure that you're eating something that is as close to it was when it was grown or when it was produced, that should be your focus. And so veggies, fruits and veggies. And when you're eating meats, eating specifically lean meats like chicken and fish, I think are best. But if you're eating red meat, trying to go for the leaner portions. And then eating healthy fats like avocado, nuts, using extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil when you're preparing your foods instead of using different vegetable oils, and trying to make that the main staple of your diet. And then as little as possible using processed foods, so things that are coming in boxes or bags or cans, if you have to use cans, like that should be a minimal part of your diet.
Gotcha. So you said oils. Let's dive deeper into that. So what do vegetable oils do versus like avocado oil, nut oils?
I think the biggest criticism in our country is that those vegetable oils are treated, so that the plants that are used to make the vegetable oil are treated with a bunch of pesticides, or they're genetically modified. And so that all of that makes it more processed and can be potentially pro-inflammatory to our bodies. Whereas if you're using extra virgin olive oil or you're using avocado oil, especially if it's a good source of that oil, then it has the opposite effect. It tends to be more anti-inflammatory.
Gotcha. Interesting. What are some of the common misconceptions about eating clean?
I think people just get maybe overwhelmed with the thought of buying clean at a grocery store, and they feel like it has to be all or nothing. And so when they go, they feel like it has to be the highest quality, everything has to be organic, everything has to be. And I think, if you have an expendable income, it's great to be perfect and buy all of those things that are, but a lot of people don't have that expendable income. And so
and I raise my hand now, guys, because I tend to interrupt a lot. I have ADD, and I'm learning to manage that. I can't be the same person I was yesterday, so I have to so when I raise my hand, we're doing this now. Like, we're all organic, all this, but we're trying to move to one income so we can keep doing this podcast. So like and subscribe if you like the content. But no, we're doing it now. We're migrating. We used to spend, we'll say it, $500-600 a week on groceries. We really did. It was really, and a lot of it supplements and things like that. We had to cut things. So I feel that. I really do feel that. So finish your thought on misconceptions.
So eating something that's like having a perfect grocery store bill is something that might not be attainable for everyone, for a lot of people, for the majority of people. And so I think knowing what to buy, what to splurge on and what not to splurge on. And so specifically when you're buying produce, and honestly, produce is probably one of the least expensive things that you're going to buy. A lot of different types of produce, not all, but if you're choosing organic, make sure that you're choosing the Dirty Dozen. So the Environmental Working Group is a great resource to have. They come up with the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So there are 12 different produce items where they recommend you should always be buying organic because they test the food after washing, after peeling, to see if there's still a high pesticide content. And so the Dirty Dozen, it is good to buy organic for those. But the Clean 15, they tend to be okay to buy regular. You don't have to buy organic. And so you can save your money on those things by just buying the regular option.
So like I know some people will do some research on their side, but do you want to list a few, off the top of your head? You say the Clean 15, the Dirty Dozen.
I know specifically with the Dirty Dozen, it tends to be, a lot of the produce that I like to buy that we have to buy organic, but like berries, like blueberries and strawberries, I think apples are on there. So basically like all of the fruits, the only fruit that I eat on a regular basis are on that group.
Yeah.
And specifically things that are on the Clean 15, avocados. We like avocados.
A correction.
I like avocados.
She does avocado toast every single morning.
I do. I love my avocados. It's a great source of healthy fat. But you do not have to buy organic. And I think this is not always, but rule of thumb, if something has like a thicker rind or outer coating, and you don't typically eat that outer coating, like there's a chance that it tends to be okay to buy non-organic. I think that's not necessarily a rule for everything. So I think it's good to follow the Clean 15, the Dirty Dozen.
That's smart. So I was today years old of what I just learned. That's actually really powerful. So if you can't afford to buy everything organic, there might be some areas in your budget where you can compromise and pay less for things when they have a tougher rind. That makes complete sense to me. But let us know in the comments, like what time, what country you're from. You learned that, because that is not common knowledge. Woo, my mind is blown. So we always talk about, let's give the listeners a little bit a window into you. So what inspired you to be on this mission of clean eating and helping people do that? Let's just kind of dig deeper into your background on these things.
Yeah, I feel like I have a very obsessive compulsive personality. I wouldn't say that I strictly fall into OCD, but definitely OCPD, where I became a little bit obsessive, I think, when I was younger with body image and health, and definitely ran into some issues with body dysmorphia. I played a sport in high school, and I was very physically active, but I think I didn't necessarily have a healthy relationship with food. I think I kind of had a lot of binge eating behaviors, and so I think I really struggled to find that balance until I started taking a lot of nutrition classes. I was a nutrition and exercise science major in undergrad, and I just remember how life-changing those first semesters of nutrition at UF, I was at University of Florida, how life-changing those were, and how it just made me think about food differently. And it kind of switched from this mentality of counting calories to fueling my body in a healthy way. And so
I still don't do that, honestly. And I think a lot of people listening and watching probably don't do that. I see all these time hops in our Instagram where you see like a Chick-fil-A meal was like 1,500 calories, and then you see 1,500 calories is like 7 meals, and I think fueling your body, is definitely a different way of thinking. I think the American diet in all, like I grew up with it, in food education just wasn't out there. And so I talk about this a lot with my friends, I know one of my friends' dad says, you better eat all your French fries before your chicken nuggets. And that's just what no offense to that person, but that's just what It was back then, but no, but
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not the only one because many of my friends, we talk about our parents like with food and stuff like that. And we didn't know fast food was unhealthy. Not really. Like I know that's like crazy
Yeah.
concept now, but we just didn't know.
Well, taking another segue, I wasn't planning on even talking about this today's episode, but I think it's relevant. And so my dad had a heart attack a couple weeks ago that was completely a bombshell to all of us because my dad, and if we filmed another episode where we were talking about him walking, like he walks 20,000 steps a day sometimes. And so I think it was just a shock to all of us because he's so active and really we ate a healthy diet overall. And then on top of that, ended up finding out that he needed open heart surgery. And so I think it was just a huge shock, I think, to our entire family, but specifically my mom, who's the one who prepares all the meals at the house, and then to learn how to do the grocery shopping, thinking that, and honestly, I would say that like we always ate a very healthy diet. It wasn't a very strict diet, but then going to the grocery store and kind of helping to teach my mom, like, well, you probably should need to stay away from this in today's day and age, because back in the day, if you bought something to prepare meals, it probably didn't have a lot of added chemicals and emulsifiers and other things in it. Now you have to be more cautious. And so I think about all of the training that I've had, all of the years of nutrition training and, med school, which honestly doesn't teach you a whole lot about nutrition, teaches you some, and just everything that I've learned up until now. And I still have to kind of, to look at labels really closely and to think about someone who doesn't have all of that training and that background and how overwhelming it can be. I think just really speaks to how difficult it is to eat healthy and grocery shop nowadays.
Yeah, especially in today. So how did that make you feel when you found out that, you got that call? Because I just got back from Japan. Like how did that make you feel in that moment? Like, because I was shocked too. And this man, like, to put things, and people know who are big Fitbitters. I know you're going to comment on this. Earth badge. So Earth badge means you walk the circumference of the Earth. He does that every year. And in fact, when he was done with his open heart surgery, he was actually trying to get his steps in. We're like, slow down.
Gosh, when he was in the emergency room, because we didn't think that he was having a heart attack. We thought like he was sick. He'd had like a head cold, and he'd moved a bunch of heavy 100-pound logs the day before. They were like cleaning some.
Man, 70.
and he thought it was just maybe like some musculoskeletal pain that he was having. And so he was trying to get his 10,000 steps in at the emergency room while he was waiting. Like he was still walking up and down the hall. And so it shows you how important every moment is, and life is fleeting, and he's doing really well after his surgery. It's been an adjustment, but I think it just shows that we need to be better with prevention and with the foods that we offer in this country. I think even for someone who's eating a bunch of baked chicken and extra virgin olive oil and lots of veggies, there are still things on the market that we had in our home that we ate kind of in a minority of the times that still was potentially contributory.
Yeah, when you have a life-threatening situation like that happen, I think that's where, things do change. And the number one killer out there is heart disease for men and women. I learned that because I'm in a functional medicine conference. What? Okay.
But you think, and the other thing too is like obesity-related conditions. When something like cirrhosis, like liver failure, used to be primarily due to alcoholism, now we're seeing liver failure due to fatty liver, so due to obesity, due to metabolic syndrome, due to high cholesterol, which is a huge shift. It's a scary shift, something that we can do something about. So let's talk about how to eat clean on a budget.
Well, what strategies do you want to offer people about like how can they eat clean for less? So what strategies do you want to review?
Yeah, so I mean the tried and true, shopping the perimeter at the grocery store first. Always do the perimeter first instead of going up and down the aisles. And so if you're shopping the perimeter, you're usually going to the produce section and the deli section and maybe the bakery section. And you're doing, dairy, you're going to all of the the whole foods first. And that way you're getting the majority of your staples around those sections. And then if you need to get some condiments and you need to get some of the other processed foods, just know that the majority of the processed foods are all going to be on those aisles in the center. And I know that's a generalization. I mean, you can get your coffee and other stuff on those center aisles, but that should be a minimal part of your grocery shopping, going up and down the aisles.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, always come with a list. Know what you're getting. Because I don't know how many times I've gone to the grocery store without a plan, and then you just kind of wander aimlessly around saying like, oh, I'll make this for dinner, or oh, this looks good. And you'll end up spending a lot more money, and you won't really have a planned meal, a meal plan for the week. So make sure that you are organized and you plan before you go. Never go hungry. It's so true. When you're hungry and you have cravings when you're at the grocery store, of course you're going to pick up the cookies.
Impulse or the Snickers.
Yeah, a lot of impulse buys.
That's me. I'm a Snickers guy. Like the whole tackling of Betty White, you know. You better.
Yes. I never take him grocery shopping with me because it's like shopping with a 6'6" toddler that wants all of the middle aisle items. But I would say those are the big ones. We already talked about the environmental working group. So
that's 4.
Buying organic when you need to buy organic, but saving money when you don't. I think you should never skimp on meat or eggs. It should be high quality meat, high quality eggs. What I mean by that is pasture raised, or organic as much as possible. Pasture raised if you're doing eggs and you're doing poultry. And then grass-fed if you're doing meat. And they should never have added hormones or antibiotics. Avoiding all that stuff. I think there's just, it's so expensive. I feel like that's probably the most expensive part of your grocery bill. But it's something that you shouldn't skimp on because it's impacting your gut. It's impacting your heart. You should really, I mean, that's where you should spend your money.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, you gave us 5 good tips, which I thought were really good. The biggest one is, which is the kind of a doomsday, because that's where the money is. It's the meat. Do not skimp on meat.
And some people don't need to eat meat. Some people can go vegan or vegetarian. God bless you, because I can't.
I'm about to say, I don't know many of those people. I actually know 1 or 2 people, and listen, I feel like they're not pleasant people. They're not pleasant people because they ain't meat.
That's the whole reason.
I'm just kidding.
I have to have my avocado toast with eggs in the morning. Like that's what starts me off.
Well, they say that if it doesn't have a face, it doesn't count. I don't, what is that? Is that a pest? What is that? I don't know.
Well, they're different, like ovo. There are different forms of being a vegetarian where they do eat eggs.
Yeah. Sorry, crunchy community. The crunchy community is more vegan, right?
No, I mean, it depends. I feel like the crunchy community, they're all about the high quality.
Yeah.
They probably have their own chickens at home,
which that would be a dream.
Milking their own cows. And it's non-pasteurized.
So if y'all like
raw.
this, that is probably going to be our life in probably 5 years. You know, we have a 5-year plan. and talked about we're going to keep doing this for 5 years. It may look a little different. It'll be crazy with kids, but we're gonna sneak it in there somewhere because we're passionate about educating the people. So what barriers would people have that would eat on a clean budget? What would stop someone from like doing that?
We've talked about this in prior episodes, but just the access is everything. So some people live in areas where they're not even in a close vicinity to grocery stores or farmers markets. It's just convenience stores, and they might not have transportation, and it's cheaper to go to a convenience store, and so they're just buying that ultra processed food, and it's also a matter of shelf life. So these ultra processed foods have a bunch of additives in them to make them last longer before they spoil. And so you can buy it in bulk and they can last you for probably a whole year or more. Sometimes.
Well, this is what I say. If your food can last longer than you, something is wrong. They said something about Twinkies, about 50 years, 60 years, 100 years.
McDonald's French fries.
Oh, McDonald's French fries.
Have you ever dropped a McDonald's French fry under your car and looked under your car seats?
And it's perfect.
It's just perfect. There's no mold growing on it. There's nothing.
Sometimes I go,
that's troubling. No, you don't.
No, I don't. I know.
That's troubling when you see that. That means that it's not of this earth.
Right.
There is something.
Not of this earth? Well, it is of this earth. It's just ultra processed.
I'm just saying there's something something chemical about it.
Yeah.
It's not something natural that's
Yeah.
growing out of the ground.
It's so I love McDonald's French fries every once in a while, but I have moved over to and we're doing like our own healthy versions of stuff. Like we've done like healthy Chick-fil-A nuggets, but you haven't done that in a while. But we did do that one
Yeah.
time. It was pretty good actually.
The trick is dipping the chicken breast in the pickle juice before you use the avocado,
Ding ding.
or not avocado, but the almond flour little mixture.
Yeah, for sure. Let's break it down a little bit. So some people might be listening. It might not be fair. So the social economic issues, like how do they get access to these foods? I know we talked about, they're going to struggle because it's convenience, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say to those communities?
And I mean, sometimes it's a matter of also, do you have a refrigerator? Do you have an area where you can store the perishable foods? And that's a whole different story. But
Right.
there are also resources. And I worked with the United Way whenever I was in med school. And I just found that they were a wealth. They're usually in every state, and you can usually reach out to them, and at least they basically put you with resources that you need, no matter what need you might have. So they're a free resource to have, to put you in contact with food banks. I know in North Carolina, which is where I practiced primary care, there was the Loaves and Fishes, where they would help to give groceries to families in need, kind of no questions asked. And so there are certainly some nonprofit organizations that can really help with that for people who are in need. And so it's good to know kind of what your local resources are. And if you're not aware, a lot of times your primary care might know. If your primary care provider doesn't know, then looking to the United Way, your local United Way, they can kind of put you in the right direction to help you find those resources.
That's really hard for folks in those communities, like to get access to quality meat and all that. And so now something we didn't really talk about, but we did mention it in the teaser in the beginning of the episode. So people who are doing a reach for that dollar menu, or hey, I can only afford cereal. Like, I'm sorry, that CEO, when they just said eat cereal, I'm sorry, that really
strikes a chord
with me. So what would you say to those people that do, you know what, yeah, but like, times are tough. Like, I just need to do what I need to do, and reach for the dollar menu, reach for that. Like, what would you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, I think your health is always an investment, and you should really be investing in your health more than anything else. I know you want to invest in other things. You tell people to invest in other things, but I think you're still a proponent. Health should be
health
number one.
first, guys. I think health is before wealth. I tell people that, like, I've managed large teams. Health before your wealth, because at the end of the day, like, if you don't have your health, you don't have your wealth, right?
Yeah, and what are the opportunity costs? So if you don't invest now, down the road, the chances are heart disease, diabetes. What comes from diabetes? End-stage renal disease, blindness, neuropathy to where you can't feel your feet, amputations, so you can't work anymore, you can't see anymore. You're tied to a dialysis machine, and how expensive is that?
Right.
And how are you going to pay for all of the medications that you need to be on related to those illnesses? And so I think if you're investing early on and you find a place in your budget, and there are other things that you can do, like buying in bulk, and if you have a grocery store that has the high quality meat, buying that meat in bulk and freezing. If you have access to a freezer, if you have a freezer at home, there are ways, and being prepared and meal planning. I know it takes time and it's an investment, but a lot of times if you're at work and you're choosing, kind of like the CDC mentions, if you're going to the coffee bar, or you're going to the restaurant that's right down the street from where you work, the calories are going to be higher, the cost is going to be bigger, because it's still, I would say that it's still cheaper to meal prep.
It is. And a lot of people are doing that. And so not only is it cheaper, but it's also healthier. Like, for example, I went out with one of my friends not long ago. We just did one of our podcast episodes, and, I got an appetizer and a turkey sandwich. It was a deli turkey sandwich. It wasn't like a fancy, it was like $45. I was like, damn, wow, that's insane.
Yeah. Oh, and this is something that I didn't mention, which is we're paying a lot more attention to different grocery stores and how expensive it can be shopping at different grocery stores.
Yeah.
And ideally, I would love to shop at Whole Foods all the time. I think they have the best options. And if you're just shopping for your produce, if you're an Amazon Prime member, I think you can you can still shop on a budget there, but it's a lot of the other items, the meat, the other health food kind of packaged items that you're getting that are much more expensive. But we have a Sprouts farmers market here that's really inexpensive.
Yeah.
You can find a lot of organic produce and health food there.
And that's what we're doing. I know it's like, it is a time commitment. It's like 20 minutes away, but at the same time, guys, we're feeling the recession too. So we're feeling the recession, but we're also trying to move to one income because we want to do this for our, for our life. We want to, but not for us, for you guys, to help you guys,
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of shopping at Food Lion. That's probably the biggest budget that you can. They actually do have some.
I had to put an axe. I was like, listen, our budgets are too high. We're going to be bankrupt.
Yeah.
We had to get that managed first before
we can't be shopping at Publix anymore. Publix
well,
or
we
Harris
can, but just
Teeter.
in moderation.
Yeah.
We just got to be very,
We're
careful.
shopping is a
but
pleasure.
Aldi's too. Like we did a whole thing on food inflation. Like
Aldi's a great
Aldi's
option.
is one of the best options.
And of course, Aldi's and Sprouts are very far away from us, but it's worth the drive.
But Aldi though is one of the fastest growing grocery stores and has been for a very long time.
And I think they follow a different regulatory agency. Where are they based out of? They're the Netherlands,
yeah.
And so they follow stricter food guidelines where they aren't allowed to have certain additives that.
So they have IKEA and Aldi crushing it. So we promised you guys a bonus.
Oh gosh.
Are they ready for the bonus? All right. So tell us about the bonus, Em.
Oh, I mean the bonus, I guess, is just access to the meal plan that I curated.
Guys, I read this thing, and every time I bring it up, she's so shy. Like, oh well, I guess they could look at my meal plan. But no, we were on the meal plan. We reset our gut microbiome. If you don't know what that is, check out one of our early episodes. We dive deep into this. Emily quit traditional medicine because she felt like it wasn't addressing the issues. Functional medicine was traditional medicine, obesity medicine. This is all her. And so we're trying to address the symptoms of issues. And so, talk about your ebook.
Well,
it's free.
You'll hear a lot. It always starts with the gut. And I think a lot of inflammation and insulin resistance and hormonal imbalance, if you fix your gut, then you can fix all those downstream issues. And so I think that's the kind of the ultimate goal of this meal plan is that it incorporates a lot of like natural probiotics and prebiotics into your diet with some specific guidelines on what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snack. And so that you can at least follow those for the first 7 days and get an idea of what foods you should be eating. And there's a grocery list as well that's included in my ebook, and it's free.
It is free. So guys, go to suitsandscrubspodcast.com, suitsandscrubspodcast.com, and we ask you a few questions, and then ultimately it's free. Take a look at it. It's very well done. Emily's, it's put many hours into it. She wouldn't let it go and we have a virtual assistant that helps us with some of the stuff and does Canva work, and she would not let them touch it because she wanted to do it.
That's part of my OCPD, my obsessive compulsiveness.
Yes. All right, guys, that's another episode of Suits and Scrubs. A little bit of health,
a little bit of wealth,
and a lot of love. Until next time.
Bye, guys.
He's on the hustle, she's on the grind. There's no time to kill. For saving lives and new deadlines, and there's some holes to fill. With a little health and a little wealth and a lot of love. That's a life that we live. Suits and Scrubs.